Hi Eli, hi Vinny. Now it's time for talking more about Dulce Doom. Hang, Riverbank, and supper too, said the rat heartily. I tell you, I'm going to find this place now, and if I stay out all night, so cheer up, old chap, and take my arm, and we'll soon be back there again. Still sniffling, pleading, and reluctant, Mole suffered himself to be dragged back along the road by his imperious companion, who, by a flow of cheerful talk and anecdote, endeavored to beguile his spirits back and make the weary way seem shorter. When at last it seemed to Rat that they must be nearing the part of the road where the mole had been held up, he said, "Now, no more talking. Business. Up your nose and give your mind to it." They moved on in silence for some while, when suddenly the rat was conscious, through his arm that was linked into the mole's, of a faint sort of electric thrill that was passing down the animal's body. Instantly he disengaged himself, fell back a pace, and waited all attention. The signals were coming through. Mole stood a moment rigid, while his uplifted nose, quivering slightly, felt the air. Then a short, quick run forward, a fall, a check, a try back, and then slowly, steady, confident advance. The rat, much excited, kept close to his heels as the mole, with something of the air of a sleepwalker, crossed a dry ditch, scrambled through a hedge, and nosed his way over a field open and trackless and bare in the faint sunlight. Suddenly, without giving warning, he dived, but the rat was on the alert and promptly followed him down the tunnel to which his unerring nose was faithfully leading him. So exciting. Sorry, baby, I can't turn the darn page. Oh, look at it. There they go. They're inside there. Look at it. It was close and airless, and the earthly smell was strong, and it seemed a long time to Rat ere the passage ended, and he could stand erect and stretch and shake himself. The mole struck a match, and by its light the rat saw that there were standing in an open space, neatly swept and sanded underfoot, and directly facing was Mole's little front door, with Mole End painted in Gothic lettering over the bell pull on the side. Mole reached down a lantern from the nail on the wall and lit it, and the rat, looking around, saw that they were in a sort of forecourt. A garden seat stood on the side of the door, and on the other a roller, for the mole, who was a tidy animal when at home, could not stand having his ground kicked up by other animals with little runs that ended in earth heaps. On the walls hung wire baskets with ferns in them, alternating with brackets carrying plaster statuary. Garibaldi and the infant Samuel and Queen Victoria and other heroes of modern Italy. Down one side of the forecourt ran a skittle alley with benches along it and little wooden tables marked with rings that hinted at beer mugs. In the middle was a small round pond containing goldfish and surrounded by a cockleshell border. Out of the center of the pond rose a fanciful erection clothed in some cockleshells and topped by a large silvered glass ball that reflected everything all wrong and had a very pleasing effect. Mole's face beamed at the sight of all the objects so dear to him, and he hurried Rat through the door, lit a lamp in the hall, and took one glance round his old house. He saw the dust lying thick on everything, saw the cheerless, deserted look of the long-neglected house and its narrow, mirage dimensions, its worn and shabby contents, and collapsed again on a hall chair, his nose in his paws. "Oh, Ratty," he cried dismayedly, "why ever did I do? Why did I bring you to this poor, cold little place on a night like this, when you might have been at Riverbank by this time, toasting your toes before a blazing fire, with all your own nice things about you?" The rat paid no heed to the doleful self-reproach. He was running here and there, opening doors, inspecting rooms and cupboards, and lighting lamps and candles and sticking them up everywhere. "What a capital little house this is!" See, look at, there they are right there, with his lampshade. "What a capital little house this is! he called out cheerfully. So compact, so well planned. Everything here and everything in its place. We'll make a jolly night of it. The first thing we want is a good fire. I'll see to that. I always know where to find things. So this is the parlor? Splendid. Your own idea, those little sleeping bunks in the wall? Capital. Now I'll fetch the wood and the coals and we'll get a duster. Mole, you'll find one in the drawer on the kitchen table and try and smarten things up a bit. Bustle about, old chap. Encouraged by this inspiring companion, the mole roused himself and dusted and polished with energy and heartiness, while the rat, running to and fro the armfuls of fuel, soon had a cheerful blaze roaring up in the chimney. He hailed the mole to come and warm himself, but Mole promptly had another fit of the blues, dropping down on the couch in dark despair and burying his face in the duster. Rat, he moaned. How about your supper, you poor, cold, hungry, weary animal? I've nothing to give you. Nothing, not a crumb. What a fellow you are for giving in, said the rat reproachfully. Why, only just now I saw a sardine opener on the kitchen dresser, quite distinctively, and everybody knows that means there are sardines about somewhere in the neighborhood. Rouse yourself, pull yourself together, and come with me and forage. They went and foraged accordingly, hunting through every cupboard and turning out every drawer. The result was not so very depressing after all. Though, of course, it might have been better. A tin of sardines, a box of Captain biscuits, nearly full, and a German sausage encased in a silver paper. There's a a banquet for you, observed the rat, as he arranged the table. I know some animals who would give their ears to be sitting down to supper with us tonight. No bread, groaned the mole dolorously. No butter, no pâté de foie gras, no champagne, continued the rat, grinning. And that reminds me, what's that little door at the end of the passage? Your cellar, of course? Every luxury in the house. Just you wait a minute. He made for the cellar door and presently reappeared, somewhat dusty, with a bottle of beer in each paw and another under each arm. Self-indulgent beggar you seem to be, Mole, he observed, denying yourself nothing. This is really the jolliest little place I've ever been. Now, wherever did you pick up these prints? Make the place look so home-like, they do. No wonder you're so fond of it, Mole. Tell us all about it, and how you came to make it what it is. Then, while the rat busied himself fetching plates and knives and forks and mustard which he mixed in the egg cup, the mole, his bosom still heavy with the stress of the recent emotion, related somewhat shyly at first, but with more freedom as he warmed to the subject, how this was planned and how that was thought out, and this was going to go through a windfall from an aunt, and that was a wonderful find from a bargain, and this other thing was bought out of the laborer's savings and a certain amount of going without. His spirits finally quite restored, he must needs go and careless his possessions, and take a lamp and show off their points to his visitor, and expatiate on them, quite forgetful of the supper they both so much needed. Rat, who was desperately hungry, but strove to conceal it, nodding seriously, examining with a puckered brow, and saying wonderful and most remarkable at intervals when the chance for an observation was given him. At last the rat succeeded in decoying him to the table, and had just got seriously to work with the sardine opener when the sounds were heard from the forecourt without, sounds like the scuffling of small feet in the gravel and the confused murmur of tiny voices, while broken sentences reached them. Now, all in line. Hold the lantern up a bit, Tommy. Clear your throats first. No coughing. After I say 1, 2, 3. Where's young Bill? Here, come on. Do we all... What's up? Inquired the rat, pushing in his labors. I think it must be field mice, replied the mole, with a touch of pride in his manner. They go round carol singing regularly this time of year. They're quite an institution in these parts, and they have never passed over me. They come to Mole's End last of all, and I used to give them hot drinks and supper too sometimes, when I could afford it. It will be like old times to hear them again. Let's have a look at them, cried the rat, jumping up and running to the door. Look at, there's the field mice right there. It was a pretty sight, and a seasonal one, that met their eyes when they flung open the door. In the forecourt, lit by the dim rays of the horn lantern, some 8 or 10 little field mice stood in a semicircle, red worsted comforters round their throats, their forepaws thrust deep into their pockets, their feet jiggling for warmth. Their bright, beady eyes, they glanced shyly at each other, sniggering a little, sniffling and applying coat sleeves a great deal. As the door opened, one of the elder ones that carried the lantern was just saying, now then, 1, 2, 3, and forthwith their shrill little voices uprose in the air, singing one of the old-time carols that their forefathers composed in the fields that were farrow and held by the frost, or when snow-bound in the chimney corners, and handed down to be sung in the merry streets to lamplit windows at Yule time. This is the name of the song, Carol. Villagers all, this frosty tide, let your doors swing open wide. Though wind may follow and snow beside, yet draw us in your fire to bide. Joy shall be yours in the morning. Here we stand in the cold and the sleet, blowing fingers and stamping feet. Come far away, you to greet, you be the fire and we in the street, bidding you joy in the morning. For ere 1/2 of the night was gone, sudden a star has led us on, raining bliss and benison, bliss tomorrow, or more anon, joy for every morning. Goodman Joseph toiled through the snow, saw the store or a stable low. Mary, she might not go further, welcome thatch and litter below. Joy was hers in the morning. And then they heard the angels tell, who were the first to cry, nor well. Animals all, as it befell, in the stable where they did dwell. Joy shall be theirs in the morning. Oh, let's stop here and we'll do the rest tomorrow. Love you, baby. Mwah!